The principle of the identical same person hearing the identical same radio ad 3 times within 7 nights' sleep is a guideline. It is not a sacred and holy thing. Because what is the difference between frequency and consistency?
Consistency is always doing it. Frequency is just the cycle in which it happens.
That's brilliant. A more colloquial way to say it is, consistency is the frequency of the frequency. And so, measured correctly, now see the computer, the Nielsen computer, and I forget what they call it in Canada, but they have their own Nielsen, and it's very valid. The computer will measure frequency, so how often did the same listener hear the same ad? That's frequency. Mm-hmm. How often did the same listener hear the same ad? Or the ad for the same client, okay? They can measure it over the period of a year. I got a 3 frequency. Same listener heard an ad from this particular client 3 times this year. So what happens is 3 times in a year isn't good enough, 3 times in a month isn't good enough, 3 times in the span of 2 weeks isn't good enough. We want 3 repetitions. We want the same listener to hear an ad for that client 3 times within 7 nights' sleep. We want a 1-week frequency. Now, you want to create a 1-week schedule that airs 52 weeks in a row. The same typical week airs every week, 52 weeks in a row. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's the goal. So what does that take? Well, there's a number of ways to make it happen. I got people a shortcut 20 years ago in my seminars and in one of my books. I said, on a music formatted station, mm-hmm. most of the time, like 90% of the time, if it's a music formatted station and you do the reach and frequency analysis, what you'll find is between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 p.m., 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., if you run 21 ads, keep in mind this was 20 years ago, mm-hmm. 21 ads between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. in 1 week on a music formatted station, any type of music, you will reach the average listener about 3 times in 7 nights' sleep. Takes about 21 ads, 6A to 7P, plus or minus 2 ads. And here's what was weird about it, because I've done this so many thousands of times. Mm-hmm. I found a pattern. Mm-hmm. The younger the music, the younger the demo for the music, the younger people switch stations a little more quickly. What's called their time spent listening, TSL, is a little lower than people that are full grown. And so people say 12 to 24. Even a little bit older than that, not quite 34, but there's a window of time where they're just twitchy. Mm-hmm. And they'll switch. And so it would take 21 plus 2. Takes 23 ads to reach those people 3 times on a station. But now the older demo, they choose their favorites and they're a little less quick to switch stations. So their time spent listening was a little higher. And that would take as few as 19. So 21 plus or minus 2. Okay? And loosely speaking, the younger the demo, the more likely the plus 2. The older the demo, the more likely the minus 2. Time goes by. It's now been 20 years since I used to say that. And I was just giving people a shortcut. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah, if for those who didn't want to figure it out.
Music formatted. Now remind me in a minute to talk about why it doesn't apply to talk radio.
Okay.
Okay.
Noted.
So, talk radio is like television. Talk radio is television without pictures. It's not radio at all. It's television without pictures. So here's the thing. Time spent listening has gone down for everyone a little bit. Nothing to be alarmed about, but enough that it's now no longer 21 ads plus or minus 2. It's 23 ads plus or minus 2.
Oh, interesting.
And so now, because time spent listening has declined somewhat, mm-hmm. on a music formatted station, 6A to 7P. Now, is that the only way to get a 3 frequency? Heck no. Heck no. My very first huge success that kind of made me famous and started making me a lot of money and getting me a lot of attention. I had a tiny budget and a really big city. This was in 1992. I had $100,000 to last a whole year. In Los Angeles. $100,000 lasts a week in Los Angeles. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, in 1992, when Rick Dees did a live ad on Kiss FM, $5,000.
For one.
One ad.
So, yeah, that's a week. 20 spots, you're done.
Yeah, so if Rick Dees says your name once a week for 20 weeks, your $100,000 is gone, right? Once a week, or once a day for 20 days. And it's like, yeah, your $100,000 is gone. And so America's top billing radio station, as a matter of fact, Rick in 1992 was making $1 million a month. In 1992, to host the largest morning show in America. And that radio station, he was replaced by Ryan Seacrest, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my point. I needed to sell engagement rings. This was who I needed to reach. And so I said to the sales manager, hey, look, someday you're going to be glad you did this. And he is glad he did it. We became a multi-million-dollar client. Started at $100,000 a year. Whenever the company was sold, we were spending a few million a year. That's how much the company grew. And I said, listen, I can't afford mornings, I can't afford middays, I can't even afford afternoon drives. I'm going to buy 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Now, anybody who's old enough to have holes in their underwear is at home watching TV at 8 p.m. They're not listening to the radio. So the radio audience goes down on most music formatted stations by a half to 2/3. So a half to 2/3 of the audience is gone home watching TV. So who's out running around at night?
Youngins.
People dating. And so I bought Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, a spot an hour from 7p to 1a, and then got bonused a bunch of spots from 1a to 6a overnight.
Yeah.
So listen, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, he, she, or he and he, or her and her, but anyway, they're together. They're not running around, having a good time. It's after dark. And guess what? Nobody wants those ads. I'll give you $100,000 if you make me an unbelievable, ridiculously, breathtakingly absurd deal. It's way too good of a deal. I don't deserve it, but let's be honest with each other. You and I both know this is going to work. We know this is going to work. And he goes, yeah, this is going to work. I said, dude, I'll make it right with you. Whenever it starts working, within probably 120 days, they're going to increase the budget. I'm coming back to you, and I'm going to keep my amazing deal at night. I'm not changing that.
That stays.
But I'll start buying some other ads in some of the more expensive day parts. Okay? But get me started, man. Get me started. Invest in us. And he said, you understand this game way better than most people. I cannot afford to do this. In 1992, I cannot afford to do this for more than just one or two people. And you're definitely one of them. I'm in. Let's do this.
All right.
And so he made me this amazing deal. It was like $20 a spot or something. Remember, it's $5,000.
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. And so I'm on this station. It's still a monster huge audience, but they're never sold out.
Yeah.
8p to 1a. They're just never sold
They always
out.
have extra airtime.
So what I'm saying is, I was on once an hour from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. And so you can do that math and then add all the bonus ads that we got at late night and divide it into $100,000 for the year. And it's like, that's not a lot of money. And of course it started working. It started working great. It became a big company. My client sold it for many tens of millions of dollars, tickling $100 million. And that was in the late 90s.
Wow.
I mean, we worked together 7 or 8 or 9 years, and it was a huge, gigantic thing. When I sold it, I resigned because I don't want to My relationship is with the person, not with the company. So, okay. The way you get a 3 frequency in a non-rated market, the best you can do is what I told you. Now here's the problem. Zach, the computer will lie to you. If you're in a market that's big enough to actually have Nielsen ratings. See, there's small towns that are unrated. Nielsen's not there. You just have to do this by the seat of your pants. And by the seat of your pants, the formula I just gave you, which is 23 ads, plus or minus 2, every week, 52 weeks in a row. Now, is that enough ads to make something happen quickly? Absolutely not. No, no, no. If you need to make something happen quickly, you need to spot an hour, 24 hours a day. Shut up. And it better be a high-impact ad. High-impact ad, 24 hours a day, every hour. And if you can convince the program director to let you do 2 ads an hour, do that. There's no such thing as too much frequency. Don't let anybody talk to you about how, we don't want to irritate people. Shut up. Irritate people. If you need to make big things happen quickly, you can't have enough frequency. And you better have a high-impact ad. So if you think you can test the waters with 23 ads a week, 6A to 7P, you're crazy. You will fail. It will be a disaster. If you start running that schedule your first 90 days, your client is going to want to shoot themselves. They're going to want to blow their brains out. They're going to think, I've spent all this money, I've got nothing for it. It's the 4th or 5th month before they start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. If they're not prepared for that, they're going to cancel. So you never tell them that this is enough in the short term. Oh, it's not even close enough. You have to have consistency. We talked about frequency and consistency. You have to have consistency week after week after week after week. And guess what? The listener, they're not paying the bill every 30 days. They just began hearing you yesterday. No, it's been 45 days. It wasn't yesterday or the day before. It's been a month and a half, and I've been spending a whole lot of money, and I'm not seeing anything for it. Well, seed time and harvest, Zach. Seed time and harvest. You plant all the seeds simultaneously, it matures simultaneously. When you start getting that first early result, the second result is right behind it. The third result is right behind that. The crop matures simultaneously. When you're persuading people, they become convinced simultaneously.
Together.
And so what happens, it takes repetition, it takes repetition, it takes repetition, it takes repetition. That's radio. It's not TV. It's radio. TV does not take as much repetition.
Interesting. Now,
the cost of production will break your back to produce good ads.
Yeah.
Now,
is this the time where I'm supposed to remind you about radio, talk radio versus?
Thank you.
Because so far we've been talking about.
That's why you're vice chancellor.
Strictly music programmed radio stations.
Okay. Now on talk radio, even on music radio, but less so. On talk radio, you need to be concerned about emotional environment. When people are listening to this show, because see, here's how talk radio is like television. Very few people listen to the station.
They just want that show.
They listen to the show. They follow that show every day at that time. And so on television, nobody listens, well, I'm an ABC listener. It's what I am. I'm an NBC listener. Shut up. You watch different shows on different channels at different times of day. And so for that reason, a talk format, now sports is almost like music radio. Sports is almost like music radio. If you're just a sports nut, you'll turn on the sports station and just listen to it no matter what they're talking about. Okay? But that's pretty rare. News talk, on the other hand, news talk. You can run 5 ads a week. Same show. Pick a show. You run 1 ad a day inside that show. It'll start paying off with just 5 ads a week. About as soon as 23 ads a week on a music formatted station. Now, the problem is, that's what's called a horizontal schedule. Vertical schedule, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 8, 11, noon, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's vertical throughout the day. Okay. How many ads are you going to stack each day? Well, horizontal is, I'm going to be on between 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 2:30 in the afternoon. every day. Between 1 o'clock and 2:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This show is on every day. I'm inside this show. Now, if you don't listen to that show, you never hear my ad. But if you do listen to that show, you're likely to catch it maybe 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times a week. Now, remember, if the average person heard your ad 2.5 times a week on average. Now, you can't hear an ad half of a time, but when you average it, can you have a 2.4, a 2.5, a 2.6 average? Yes. Well, is that close enough? Sure it is. It just takes you longer to hit breakthrough. It just takes you longer to begin seeing results. The ramping up period takes longer. Remember, it's a long time even if you have a full 3. And so if you're going to cheat and you're going to add extra ads and you're going to get extra, special help and special things to get attention, do it early. Do things, extra energy, extra promotions, extra contests, extra giveaways, extra whatever. Do it early. To do it live remote broadcast, do it early in the schedule to get it done quickly. Here's a trick I used to do a lot. Back when live remote broadcasts were really a big deal, I would tell the station, now listen, you and I both know the law does not allow you to collect for ads that have not run. So if you commit, you're going to run 1,000 ads this year, and then you run 200 ads and cancel.
Oh, they can't.
They can't charge you for the 800 that didn't run.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
against the law. But they can charge you a higher rate for the 200. We gave you the rate for 1,000,
Yeah.
and you didn't qualify for the 1,000. Therefore, you get the 200 rate ad. You get the 200 ad rate.
Yeah. Which is significantly higher.
Significantly higher. That's called a short rate.
Okay.
That is legal. Stations don't usually enforce it. They don't want to make enemies.
Yeah.
Now, that's why they also don't trust people when they say, I'm going to run 1,000 ads. You have to prove that you really will follow through.
Yeah.
So here's my point. I said, you can't charge me for something I hadn't run. Now, I'm going to run 1,000 ads. How much do you guys normally charge for a live remote broadcast? You're going to come out, you're going to talk about me once every 15 minutes, you're going to interview my people, it's going to be a big show, everybody, you're going to draw a big crowd, get a lot of attention, high frequency, big deal for several hours. They say, well, we charge like this many thousands of dollars, this huge price. And I go, great. I want you to give me one of those for free when I have run 1,000 ads. But I don't need it at the end of my 1,000 ads. I need it now to kick this thing off with a bang. Therefore, give me it now. And if I don't fulfill the 1,000 ads, I owe you for it because it was delivered. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was delivered.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's only free when I've paid for my 1,000th ad. But if I don't pay for 1,000 ads, I owe you for what did run.
Yeah.
And so I now have a cancellation penalty. I have a perfectly enforceable, morally, ethically, legally
Oh, yeah.
binding cancellation. And I've never had a station that said no.
Yeah. Well, because you put yourself in a corner in their favor, but it's just because you were going to do it anyways and you knew that the whole time.
Yeah, I know we're going to fulfill the contract. And so
Yeah.
what happens is I've never one time had a station tell me no in 40 years. And they always go, yeah.
Sure.
If you run 1,000 ads, we'll give you a free live remote. And if you give it to them in the front end, it's this huge cancellation penalty
Yeah.
for you to cancel. And they
right.
always go, yeah.
Sure.
And so here's the deal. I would cheat that way to help accelerate
The results.
this chickening out period because those first, say, 13 weeks, 13, 15, 16 weeks are chickening out period for the client. And I would be totally upfront with the client. I would say, look, you're going to want to shoot yourself a month or 2 or 3 months into this because you're not going to see enough benefit for all the money you've paid. Are we good? Oh yeah, we're good. You don't need to worry about me. Every time, Zach, every time, those clients have said to me, man, I'm glad we had that talk. Because right now I would sure be canceling. It's only because you told me I would be thinking and feeling this way. It's only because we talked about it, I'm not canceling. Now, the difference between radio and scripts and TV scripts. I'm going to give you a super brief overview. You ready?
Yeah, please.
All right. Radio offers one channel of communication. It's the person on the ad, right? The narrator or the voices. They're going to choose their words. We were praising Paul's choice of words. Now, the tone of voice. You know that guy had that Southern gentleman thing going on? And then there's the vocal inflection. Zig Ziglar one time says, I did not say you beat your wife. 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 I did not say you beat.
Every time.
Yeah,
Every time.
The same 8 words, he
Yeah.
made mean 7 different things. And then you can have the fourth thing is music and auditory special effects. So all of those are auditory. Tone of voice, vocal inflection, etc. Radio can do all those. Now, TV can do those same exact things. But then they have facial expressions, gestures, and body language. It's another channel of communication.
Yeah.
They've
Another
also got
layer.
screen text that can pop up.
So now you're engaging, yeah.
And so you can reinforce something you just said or give them additional information. Like on a TV ad, you never need to say the address or the phone number or the domain name.
Yeah.
You just put it on the screen in screen text.
Exactly.
You don't need to say those things.
Unless you're really trying to make a point when you say, send your questions to, and then it appears.
And then it pops up, send your questions to.
at wizardacademy.org.
And then, because there's
That was fun.
so many more.
This is so meta.
Exactly. There are so many more people watching right now than send questions.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks, oh, they're not going to use my question. I'm going, oh no, we have way more viewers than questions.
Yeah.
And so visual special effects. Now, you know what's going to happen next
Explosions.
month? We're getting about 100.
Oh yeah, we're gonna
questions.
have so many. But no, please send them.
And so Paul Harvey says repetition is effective, repetition is effective. He's gone now, but he was a genius. Television needs impact, radio needs repetition. Radio is not seasonal. Radio listenership doesn't go up and down very much. It gets a little higher in the summertime when it stays daylight longer, and television goes into reruns. You know why television goes into reruns?
Because people aren't
Because
watching.
people aren't at home. They're out at the lake, or
doing
at the
things.
beach, or in the backyard, in the garden, or in the swimming pool, or something, or on vacation. And so that's why TV goes into reruns in the spring. And so radio is not seasonal. Television is. The television audience in the autumn and in the winter, much bigger than in the late spring and summer. And so when the kids are out for school, ain't nobody watching TV for much. They're not even close.
Yeah.
Unless there's a whole COVID-19 thing happening. And then you have,
Well, they have Netflix and Hulu.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, radio is diminished by bad ad writers. And to not be the victim of a bad ad writer, you
Either self-improve or hire somebody.
that's what I was trying to say. Television, though, is diminished by the DVR. And the DVR is anything that doesn't change with time gets DVR'd by anybody that can afford cable and a DVR. But nobody DVRs the news or live sports. And so they don't DVR Good Morning America or the Today Show or any of those news shows or news-oriented shows or and so any network, any news show, there's a specific number of people watching at any given moment, and you don't have to judge television so much by repetition as you do by simple reach.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. Television writers can learn to write great TV ads pretty easily. They just have to keep those other 3 channels in mind. I don't just have words. I've got gestures, facial expressions, and body language, and I've got screen text, and I've got video special effects. I've got these other 3 layers. And so I can say 60 seconds worth of information in 30 seconds
Yeah.
in a TV ad. And so great radio writers can be amazing TV writers without that much work.
Yeah. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump.
They have to think about it. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's not that hard. All the really brilliant television script writers I know
Or
will tell you
automatically.
they can't write radio.
Oh, really?
No,
It
you
doesn't
can't-
go the other way.
It doesn't go the other way.
Oh, interesting.
Because you're used to having all these tools. You're not used to figuring out how to say it in words.
The screen in the mind.
Cutting words is easy. You look down your script. So you write a 60-second script. Then you say, okay, what can I show instead of tell?
Yeah.
You take all that out. And then what can I put on screen text instead of say?
Yeah.
And you take all that out.
Okay.
And then what can I do with video special effects instead of say? And you take that out. And now all of a sudden, what was originally like 180 words is now like 40 words. And everything else is either screen text or
Yeah.
you're actually showing the thing
Yeah.
instead of describing it.
Because the brain's powerful enough to take all that information in multi-channel.
Here's
Because
the thing.
you're now adding channels.
People who know how to describe it in words can take pieces out. Okay? They can take pieces out and replace it with actions, gestures, facial expressions, and special effects. But people who have never done it in words, they can't suddenly become good writers. So TV script writers cannot do radio ads, but radio writers can do TV ads with just a little bit of stretching their brain.
Yeah, just
A
think
little bit
about
of
it.
stretching.